Is it possible to record without wearing a robe?
No.
Sex positive culture.
It's my body to give.
Are threesome gifts a thing?
Taking a bra off.
I like your bed.
Horizontal.
This is Horizontal with Lila.
My name is Lila, and I am naked and horizontal with Shaun.
My name is Shaun, and I am so naked and horizontal with Lila.
Horizontal is a podcast of intimacies recorded while lying down. I'm really glad you're here. You can think of it as consensual eavesdropping. Together, we're making private conversations public in order to dispel shame, diminish loneliness, and alchemize human connection. If you've been horizontal for a while, you know that each conversation is about 2 to 3 hours long and gets divided into 2 episodes released a week apart by popular demand. For instance, this is episode number 57, Fear of Intimacy, horizontal with the Love Drive podcaster. Next week's episode, number 58, The Love Drive, will be part 2 of my conversation with Shaun. As I said in the last couple of episodes, I'm making a big shift in the way horizontal is released, and it just went into effect on Wednesday. All the part 2s have now disappeared from your apps, unless you downloaded them, as I suggested. Thanks for being an early adopter. They are now gated and available to patrons at $5 a month and up. This is my first serious step toward making this work a sustainable career path. I intend to untether myself from my bread and butter jobs and continue expanding the horizontality into videos, books, a TV show. I have big, big dreams to spread intimacy across the globe, and you can help me happen it. Patreon is the love child of crowdfunding and a subscription service. As a $5 a month patron, you'll get a special RSS feed that you can add to your podcast player, and it gives you exclusive access to all the episodes, every part 2, going back to the beginning. I've even made a little video tutorial for it in case the RSS is confusing, because it confused me. It's available on my Patreon page. See what I did there? Patreon.com/horizontalwithlila. That's spelled patreon.com/horizontalwithlila. In this episode, I lie down with my bed. I lie down with my bed. We should keep that in there. In this episode, I lie down in my bed in Bushwick, Brooklyn, with Shaun Galanos. I live in Hacienda Villa, a sex-positive intentional community, and just like most places on the Vanguard, our neighborhood is still fairly gritty. So be advised, dear listener, Bushwick is a very noisy place. Trains and sirens and construction and unidentifiable buzzings and whirrings. Let's just say you're definitely going to get some local color in this episode. We'll call it verite. Shaun Galanos is a 30-something silver fox, a Canadian, an American, a 12-time burner, a dog dad, and the host of the podcast The Love Drive, which aims to make sex and love less awkward. He's also a street performer who gives free love advice. He sets up a sign and his recording kit all over the place in public parks, at Burning Man, while waiting for transportation, and before he got chased away for soliciting the customers, at the airport. Point yourself towards thelovedrive.com for everything Shaun, including that free love advice he talks about. Shaun and I met on the interwebs and started flirting and brainstorming and podcast conspiring on Instagram. He's handsome and charming and skilled in cheeky banter. He makes cute videos in which he talks directly to the camera, Ferris Bueller style. He cares about intimacy. He's single. So when he came to New York, naturally, we hopped into bed. But only to record. More on that later. In this first part of our conversation, we talk about cruising chat rooms and cybering, wizard sleeves and uncircumcised cocks, the pics of naked men that turn Shaun on, the pics of naked women that turn me on, self-voyeurism, check-ins, and how Shaun and I turned out to not be sexually attracted to one another. If you want to hear the second part of our conversation released next Friday, in which we discuss our pheromones, the hierarchy of relationships, touch starvation, Old Spice, my breasts, and Shaun tells me a story about risky wedding sex, then you can become a patron of the Horizontal Arts. One more time, it's patreon.com/horizontal with Lila. And now, come lie down with us in Bushwick, Brooklyn. We're naked.
Bottoms off! We're doing it! Naked
Right,
horizontal.
You won't be able to see my boner.
It's never happened before.
Look at this! Look at
Brand
these
new.
skin colors!
Whoa, you are very swarthy.
I know, this is great, isn't it?
Even your cock is swarthy. It's like the color of your arms.
It's darker
That's
than the
gotten
rest
the
of
most
my
sun.
body. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I have a tan penis.
That's so interesting.
It's part of my virginity story.
And you're uncut.
Also,
Is that because you're Canadian?
I think my parents are just like hippies.
Yeah. Shaun.
Hmm.
So when you said that you were both Canadian and American, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Montreal until I was 12 years old, and then we picked up and moved to Texas.
Huh.
We moved to Austin, which everyone says, oh, at least you moved to Austin. But as a 12-year-old, plucked out of like suburban Canada and dumped into Texas, it was a rough landing.
Oh man.
I had never seen like a Latino before. There just weren't many like in my town. I lived in a small like Anglo-Saxon town.
Whoa.
I used to
So
say,
you were outside of Montreal? Because I thought Montreal was super cosmopolitan, super diverse.
yeah, I was born in Montreal, and then we moved to a suburb of Montreal. So like when I was 3, we moved. So I didn't have any experience of diversity. And then lived in a very like white town and grew up saying a lot, like most Canadians.
Oh. A.
Yeah, a. And that I lost very quickly because I got beat up like within days of arriving in the United States
Whoa.
for having like a funny accent and saying things weird.
In Texas.
Yeah, because we don't say, in French we say close the light, not turn off the light. And so I translated it to close the light. So I was like, sort of bullied as soon as I came to the United States.
I also moved when I was 12. It's a hell of a time to move. It's really tough. And came to a new school and was not well integrated into my school. And I had the opposite experience where I came from a really diverse school, and then I went down to Florida with my mom after my parents got divorced, and I was like, where are all the black people? Where's all the Hispanic people? Where's all the people? What is wrong with this place? And she wanted me to go to a really good school, and it happened to be in a white district in Florida, Seminole. And then I went to my high school, which was integrated, but oh my God, 12 years old is so rough. You don't even know what's happening inside you. You're not even a person yet. You're like an amphibian. Oh.
And still, it was an adventure to pick up with my parents and my brother and my dog and move to a different country and drive. We drove and we landed in Texas. And I've always been like fairly robust. Like, I'm sure there's some side effects of being plucked out of your childhood and moved at the age of 12, but...
Well, yeah, I wound up eating lunch in the bathroom after 3 girls shunned me, but...
Right. I mean, I hung out with kids that were not cool. I've never been the cool kid. I hung out with the kid who had a ferret and the other one who wore Tevas with socks.
Do you think that's where your goofiness comes from?
I just never really fit in. I never really fit in. And at one point I became okay with that.
Did you have a sexual awakening when you were still living in Montreal? Or not until you were in Texas?
Not until I moved to California.
Which was when?
At the age of 15.
So you had no sense of, arousal. You didn't find any porn. You didn't...
Oh, no, I definitely... I used to cruise the AOL chat rooms when I was like 13 years old.
Oh my gosh, the AOL chat rooms.
And my username was and is still Snow Hobo.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to all sorts of chat rooms and cybered after school every day.
And cybering was really just like texting sexting.
It was sexting, but yeah, more aggressively because you had a keyboard. You could really get the
rhythm going.
Yeah, you could really get the conversation. But then at one point, you're actually just really typing with one hand. I was masturbating with the other.
And then you have to go slower.
Yeah.
I've always found that challenging, but the swipe keyboard makes it a lot easier for me to masturbate and sext.
I don't know.
Because I just need to go over the letters.
Yeah.
Instead of tick, 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 tick.
I don't know how come people aren't all using swipe.
Everybody needs to be using swipe.
They can do whatever they want, but I just don't understand it.
Do you masturbate left-handed or right-handed?
Left-handed because I mouse with my right hand.
So you learned? You learned this way? That's amazing.
But if I'm in bed, if there's no computer involved, there's no pornography involved, I'm ambidextrous when it comes to masturbating.
So you're ambimasturbous.
Masturbatory, yeah. Yeah. Left hand, right hand.
Ambimasturbatus.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Latin term, the proper Latin term.
I think it
is. So how did you discover masturbation?
Oh, man. I don't know, but I remember spending lots of time in the bathroom when I was 13 or something. That's where it all happened.
So in Texas?
In Texas, yeah. That's where it all happened. It all happened in the bathroom while I was taking a shower.
Yes.
Like, I would say I was going to take a shower, and then I would just, stay there for 20 minutes and masturbate, and then take a shower. Actually, all the stuff that happened that I didn't think should be happened in the bathroom.
My early masturbatory experiences were also aquatic.
So mine weren't aquatic.
No.
Mine were the opposite of aquatic.
Wait, so you were in the dry shower?
I was sitting on the toilet.
Oh, okay.
I had the seat down. I was just sitting on the toilet.
Okay, so you weren't using soap as a lube or anything.
I'm uncircumcised, so I've never used...
You don't need lube.
I know, it's just there's a wizard sleeve there that...
Wizard sleeve. Yeah. That's amazing. Is that a real term? Is that just you?
No, that's a real term. There's also... What's that? The magic scarf, that you can wear around your neck
or your head
or your
waistband.
So that thing sort of reminds me of foreskin. And then, do you remember that jelly roll that you can just roll onto itself?
Yes. That was a toy of the 80s, right?
It was.
Or the 90s.
Yeah, I found them on eBay or Amazon. They're extremely expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what? Okay. Anyway.
They're just, it's like you find them at the dollar store.
Whoa, yes, I would totally remember that. I can remember, I have the visual, we're both doing hand over hand, one-handed passing to the other masturbation motions right now because we remember this jelly thing.
The jelly roll.
Is that what it was called? I thought it was a snake. I thought it was a water snake.
Yeah, water snake, sea cucumber. It's got, anyways. So I never used lubrication. I mean, I've never really used lubrication to masturbate except for the few times when I've decided that I wanted to as a sensation. And I've intentionally pulled my foreskin down and then sort of masturbated like somebody would if they were uncircumcised.
Was it enjoyable?
Or circumcised, sorry. Yeah, it is. It's just not, I just not necessary. It's just a different sensation that I don't necessarily need. Like I'm perfectly happy with the sensation that I have masturbating normally.
It's so interesting because it really is like you have a sleeve when you're masturbating.
You can masturbate anywhere.
It's like you don't need a fleshlight.
You don't need a fleshlight.
You are a fleshlight.
I am a fleshlight. There's no lube cleanup. There's no lotion cleanup. You can furtively masturbate, anywhere basically. As long as you're not too close to a school or,
So, you're in Texas. So did you have any sex ed?
I don't remember any sex ed. I remember DARE.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I had that too.
I didn't have sex ed. I remember having sex ed in California, and it was just 2 classes, not 2 courses.
Oh, just
2 sessions.
2 sessions.
Yeah, with the PE teacher. Somehow he's qualified.
And it was, right. And it was really don't get pregnant. Don't get anybody pregnant.
And here's a banana and how to put a condom on a banana.
So that you don't get anybody pregnant, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't really remember any of it. I used to smoke a lot of pot, so there's a lot of things I don't remember. Including stories.
So frustrating. Would tell you something, shared something with you, and you don't remember it. It's so...
I know. You're not the only one.
He's giving me his legs to try and make me feel better about this. He's rubbing his legs on me.
Is it working?
It's kind of working. Yeah, it's kind of... The skin contact just calms me down. Skin contact is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Skin hunger is bad.
I don't get a lot of skin contact. I know.
That's no good.
It's okay.
It's really no good for well-being. It really is a strong cause of depression in my estimation.
I believe that.
Did you have a sex talk from your parents?
Never.
No mention of sex?
Never. Still to this day.
Oh my God. Okay, so how did you learn? You said 15 is your sexual awakening. You're in California.
I was exchanging pictures with strangers on the internet. Not pictures of myself, pictures of other people, like pornography, image-based pornography. This is before, high bandwidth internet. So that was where I learned about pornography and started acquiring pornography.
And it was just still pictures?
Yeah, of teens and people having sex, all sorts of different...
Did you say teens?
Yeah, that's a category of pornography.
Yeah,
teens,
the barely legal...
Jailbait.
Yeah.
18. So, yeah, younger people type porn, and then
I just got turned on, and that's really strange for me. I don't know. I don't have any desire to be with boys like that at all. I don't know why I just got turned on. I think I'm thinking about young you, cruising on the internet and finding these images and being super turned on by them.
Oh yeah, I mean the most interesting thing to me that stayed with me for so long is that I was really turned on by naked photos of men. And I had never, at that age, I was attracted to women and have since then always been attracted to women. That's been a constant in my life. But men, and specifically men with uncut penises, such a turn on.
Fascinating. Men like you.
Men like me, yeah.
I also get really turned on, particularly by breasts, images of women's breasts. And even in sort of an Instagram or a catalog kind of way, where they're just wearing something very sheer. like Suicide Girls style, usually that kind of a girl with the tattoos and the voluptuousness can really turn me on. I follow one on Instagram. It's Toro sort of thing. And so just a little bit of covering over the nipple is actually more exciting to me than full nudity.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is fascinating.
I mean, I used to masturbate to the Delia's catalog.
I love it. I love it. How would we describe the Delia's catalog? It was like a preteen. There's lots of pink, and they sold like costume jewelry and little crop tops and
flower dresses. There's the bathing suit section. It's for tweens.
Tweens, yeah.
What's tween? What's the?
It's in between teenager and adolescent. Like just puberty, pre-puberty.
Yeah. So that was sort of my go-to if I was like on the road, and I could usually figure out where to get a Delia's.
Amazing. But you couldn't always get the internet.
Yeah, well, there wasn't internet when I was out, rollerblading with my buddies.
Amazing.
So I'd find a Delia's and then go to the bathroom.
So you've masturbated in bathrooms across the world.
Oh my God. So you know how you did your road trip?
Yes.
The horizontal.
Does America.
I did Love Drive Across America.
Amazing.
But I didn't interview anybody.
Wait a minute. So how was it Love Drive Across America?
Because I'm the Love Drive. So
you were driving across America.
I was just driving across America. I was exploring this great country and rock climbing.
That's the train. We're sorry. There's nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do. We're doing the best we can.
Doing the best we can.
And I got an Anytime Fitness membership, which has 2,300 locations across the United States.
I know your leg is hot.
And I would work out, and then I would go into the bathroom, and I would masturbate, and then I would shower, and then I would get back in the car.
I'm surprised you never figured out to masturbate in the shower. Why be in the bathroom? Why not the one-stop shopping?
Because I often masturbate in front of a mirror.
Oh, you like to watch yourself.
I like to watch myself. Sometimes I'll take a video of myself masturbating.
I've done that once.
So many, I can't scroll through my phone and show anybody anything because it's literally just...
So many videos of you masturbating?
Videos and pictures, naked pictures of me, insane amounts of pictures.
Wow, so it's like a kind of self-voyeurism that turns you on.
Totally. And I'll never go look at them again.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you share them? Do you sext them?
I sext them sometimes, yeah.
So you were really turned on by pictures of men who looked like you, and then did it sort of evolve into you just taking images of yourself for your own turn on?
I guess. I mean, I also had folders of images of dudes, or even just close-ups of their cocks, which is why for a long time I thought I was gay.
Yeah, so was it confusing?
It was super confusing for a long time, but I always was attracted to women, and the idea of giving a blowjob was interesting and a turn on, but the idea of making out with a man or having a romantic relationship with a man was not.
Right, you were super turned on by the cock itself.
Sexually, yeah. And not even the idea of penetrating a man, not really a turn on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cock-centric.
This makes you queer. Are you comfortable with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also experimented to see what I liked, and I realized that I gave, several blowjobs. I gave it the good old college try because I actually thought I was gay, and I was like, I need to find out.
Right.
And the only way to find out is to do it, and so I did it, and it really didn't turn me on.
It's so interesting because when I was recording with Stevie Bobby, she was saying she's the lesbian YouTuber on lesbian sex, the go-to authority on lesbian sex, and she says, your sexuality is very different from sexual acts that you like.
Right.
So you're a bit queer. I'm also a bit queer. When I fantasize, I often add a woman into the scenario. So either I'm telling her that she can just watch and she can't touch herself, like I'm dominating and I'm fucking her boyfriend or something, or I'm watching her get fucked, sometimes from behind, which is not my favorite position. So I'm watching her in a position that's not super pleasurable to me, and then I, have her go down on me while that's happening, which is something that I have experienced and I loved it. I've been in that scenario twice where the guy was fucking the woman from behind and she was going down on me, and it was insanely sexy. I loved it. And then I fantasize about women going down on me, but there's always a man present in the scenario. I fantasize about touching women's breasts. I think about women's breasts sometimes when I masturbate. I touch my own breasts.
I noticed that actually earlier.
I just naturally touch them. Yeah. It's just, but I'm always self-soothing. I don't know if I ever told you that. I'm always touching myself in some way. Not necessarily my breast, not necessarily in a sexual fashion, but I'm always stroking my own skin, which is probably a function of skin hunger, and is also probably partially the way that I assuage my own anxiety. Is I soothe myself, I stroke myself and caress myself and touch my face and touch my lips, touch my collarbone, touch my cuticles.
It's nice.
I do that usually if I'm anxious, you'll see me do this. You'll see me push my cuticles back.
Yes, they're all very pushed back.
Like that, yeah, because I've been doing it for years. So, yeah, but that's a more anxious one. But the other ones are more soothing and sweet to myself. Also, like a physical manifestation of a self-loving act, because I hated myself for so long.
You did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've always been really hard on myself, but I really, at certain points, really just hated myself.
I'm really hard on myself, too.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm a Virgo, so I'm very critical, and that can often be critical of others, but it can also often be critical of myself.
I think probably most people who are self-critical are critical of others. I am, too.
Yeah.
I usually use the word judgmental. I wonder, do you make a distinction between critical and judgmental?
No. I think it's all judgment. It's all how I think others should be or how I think I should be.
Yeah, shoulds.
Yeah. Don't should all over me, man.
Don't should on yourself.
I'm sometimes really good at not shitting on people. And then other times I forget that I shouldn't do that to myself. There it is. I'm pretty good at not doing it to other people because I've learned that there's a better way to share your experience. There's a better way to get people to do something different. Is to just share my experience, and then you can take that and do whatever you want.
Which is why sharing in AA with no crosstalk and coda works so well. Just no response, sharing personally using I statements, and then people can decipher or pull what's meaningful to them without feeling preached to or like they're being taught or like they're being patronized. I like that a lot. I used to host a check-in here every week where we would, in that kind of a format, just share whatever we wanted to share about our lives. And it was not a time for advice or asking for specific things or asking for support. It was just to be witnessed, to be heard, for people to know what was going on with us in our lives, because we pass by each other. It's like the Wizard of Oz. People come and go so quickly here, and we don't necessarily know what's going on, even if we live right next to somebody. We don't necessarily know what's going on with them, even in a community like this. So every Thursday I committed for 6 months and I hosted this check-in. And we did it in different ways. When there was a small amount of people, we would share extemporaneously just as much as we wanted to share. And then we would say check, and everybody would snap, and then we would move to the next person. And the only responses that people were invited to have, there's a little bit more than in a 12-step program. If we felt moved by something, we could put our hand on our heart. If we really wanted to support something, we could snap. And obviously we weren't going to curtail laughter, so we could laugh. And then we started doing it timed. If we had more people, we would time it, and we would keep it to, say, 5 minutes. And we would get a 1-minute warning, kind of like in a meeting. And it was so beautiful. I felt so close to everybody when we were doing that. And then we started doing like what I called a round robin, or like a lightning round. And we did it sometimes in the hot tub, where we did a hot tub check-in, and we would do 1 minute at a time. And the great thing about that, and I really like that format, is because when you share and then you forget some things that you want to talk about, and then somebody else talks about their family, and you're like, I wanted to tell you about my mom, and then it comes back around, and we do the round robin as many times as people feel like they still have things they want to share, and it goes actually much quicker, and it's more succinct, and people get the opportunity to speak again multiple times. So that was really beautiful.
I love that. I love the practice of opening up to people and getting vulnerable, that's what I do when I go to AA. Well, okay, that's a lie. That's what I used to do when I used to go to AA. I don't go as much anymore, and oftentimes I find myself either regurgitating a thing that I say that gets a reaction from people, even if it's helpful. Because usually that's the goal. After you get some sobriety, it's helpful to help other people and not to just dump your problems on other people. So, but
then you're sharing from an obligation, and then you're not necessarily using it in the way that I think it's intended, which is to open, right? To be witnessed, to be held in your opening, which is what I think is so powerful about it. I have maybe a very unpopular opinion about it, and I think that most of people's healing and sobriety is because of community in that program. And I know that a lot of people would be very upset to hear me say that, but
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think that's unity is one of the tenets. There's like three: service, recovery, and unity. And unity is community, and we can't do it without the fellowship. I mean, that's the thing that saves people. It's not the big book or the steps. I mean, it is a higher power, but it's 100% at the beginning is fellowship, and it continues to be like a pillar of recovery, because I can't do it alone. And when I go to meetings, I'm in contact with people that have experience going through what I'm going through.
And it's related to why I find living in community to be so important, and why I think it's not the cure for what ails our society, but it is a cure. I love that you're playing footsie with me right now. It's so cute. I also really love that your toes are cool. Because I'm hot all over pretty much.
It's funny, I noticed that my toes were cool when I went to touch your toes. I got cool toes, everybody.
Everybody will be very happy to know that.
Some of the coolest toes in Bushwick.
So, we had been communicating for like 2 months now. My housemate, Leandra.
Yes, Leandra.
It's nice to feel your skin next to mine. So, Leandra has a Tantra teacher, called the Spiritual Playboy. And every time I say it, I'm like, it just feels so not good in my mouth. But you did an episode with him, and she came to me one day and she was like, look at this guy. She's like, every time I look at him, I kind of get hot. And I looked at him, and that was you. And I was like, damn! And then I friend requested you right away.
And here we are.
2
months later, naked in bed.
And right? Right? The things that happen on the internet, And then or the things that begin on the internet and transfer to real life, which I prefer.
Did you slide into my DMs?
So you slid into mine.
Well, I've been known to do that.
Because it's like your MO.
It's not my MO, but it is becoming...
It's a MO.
It is becoming un-MO in many aspects of my life that is working out really well in terms of making connections.
You saw that I had friend requested you, and you'd listened to my Lindsay Doe episode the week before, and you wrote me a message. You're like, "Hi, so cool that you friend requested me since I just started listening to you." And then I was really excited and turned on, and then we have been chatting and exchanging advice and flirting.
Definitely flirting.
Lots of flirting.
Lots of professional colleague chat.
Yes.
And then also some flirting.
And then you arrive, and we're like bickering like an old married couple. That's what Leandra said, that we reminded her of an old married couple. And I was like, I don't understand what is going on here. I was hoping that we'd both be super turned on and we'd have amazing sex. Like, this is what I was hoping.
Right.
And I was envisioning what an episode like that would be like. If I've never done an episode while turned on.
Right.
I was like, that would be fascinating. What happened?
So that is not what happened. I think I had some inklings that we might not be a great match, like a great romantic match.
With the dog thing.
The dog thing was the first cat
Not a dog
thing.
person.
I'm a dog person. The dog sleeps in my bed.
Aww.
There's dog hair in my bed.
Aww.
I change my sheets frequently. I sweep every day, but it's
still
there.
Sure,
and I'm a Virgo. I was raised in a house in a very beautiful home where my friends didn't feel comfortable coming to my house because of how put together it was. Yeah, I mean, this is actually an interesting bit about my personality and where I am now. So one example is that I wasn't allowed in my parents' hot tub because my mom didn't want my pubes in the hot tub.
Well,
I know.
What about her pubes?
Her pubes are fine. It's her hot tub.
And your dad?
No problem. Plenty of pubes, plenty of chest hair, but she didn't want mine in there.
Your pubes?
Yeah.
There's something like extra bad about your pubes?
I don't know what it was. And so for a long time, I was intensely private about my space, and I wouldn't let anybody stay, especially if I wasn't there. If I wasn't there, forget it. No one's staying at my house. And slowly but surely, I became more comfortable letting people into my space because I realized that they probably weren't going to fuck it up. That was my mom's huge fear, was that people were going to fuck it up. And so
where does that come from?
Oh, I don't know. Where does that come from? I don't know. Did
she grow up in a chaotic household, and so this is the only control that she had in her life?
She did. Well, she grew up in a household with 4 siblings and a dog in a very small apartment in Montreal.
So nothing was hers.
Nothing was hers, and she shared a room forever. So now everything is hers.
Everything is hers.
And she always thinks that somebody is ripping her off when she goes to the store. Like, change-wise. When the change comes back, it's always short.
Wow, okay.
And that's not me at all. Like, that used to be me with my space, and now I'm okay just opening up my space to other people, including an animal. That was sort of the point, was that my house was always so neat. And when I finally got a dog, it was just like, okay, now there's dog hair in my apartment. Mm-hmm. And that's just part of my life now. And I keep it really clean. But it happens that there's dog hair in my bed.
Okay. All right. So the dog thing and the bed thing and the me being more like a cat thing.
Yes. So you meow a lot. That's a reply for you.
Yes.
Or it's a way of expressing satisfaction or interest, or you're
flirting,
happy or flirting.
Happy.
And I'm allergic to cats. And so, like, deathly allergic to cats. Been to the hospital several times.
Oh my gosh.
Where the whites of my eyes were popping out so much that I couldn't blink anymore. Yes. And that noise that you just made is the noise the nurse made when I walked in. And I said, come on, lady, you're a professional. Like, get it together, pretend like this isn't the worst thing you've ever seen. And so anything cat related, I'm very
averse to.
Take space from it.
Yeah.
Even when it's a person acting like a cat or that has like cat-like tendencies.
Interesting.
So that was a
little red flag.
Thing, a little red flag. And then I had been listening to your episodes, and so I felt like I knew you.
Yeah.
I felt closer to you than a person I hadn't ever met. And so when I saw you, I sort of opened with that I often use as my way of interacting with people is that I make jokes. And I'm extra playful. And sometimes that can come off in a way that you experienced it.
It feels like you're making fun, not just making jokes. Like that, when you say making jokes, that sounds really like generally playful and sort of up in the air.
Like a clown.
But it really, but it really feels like you're poking. Like poking is the image and this almost the sensation of the jokes. And like poking, not in a like in between the ribs kind of way, where you're like, that is uncomfortable.
Which is weird because, so when I got sober, I had a hard time interacting with my dad because my dad is really good at making jokes at the expense of other people. And 10 years ago, I told him I didn't like this, and he said something like, "What does that even mean? I don't know what you're talking about." And so I've done a lot of work over the years to figure out how to be playful without making fun of people. And I guess I still got some work to do.
Yeah, I mean, I told you this, but I think it bears repeating that. So when I was in high school, I had a math class, and it was, I think, the last year I took math because I hated math so much. And I was in maybe algebra 2. Snuggle. And there were these, I think, 3 guys, and they were extremely smart. Book smart, intellectual smart, not emotionally intelligent. And they were super sarcastic. And they would do these sarcastic kind of barbs at me, or that's what they felt like to me. And I learned to volley them back. And I learned later by talking to one of them, I was like, "Hey, did you know that hurt my feelings?" And they didn't know at all. They thought that I was cool. They thought that I was playing with them. They thought that I was smart. And I just felt like they were being unkind, and that I needed to protect myself with my sarcasm, which is why I try mostly not to use sarcasm these days, because it feels cheap. Feels like kind of a cheap way out of connection, or it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like a beautiful way to interact with people. And so it had a little bit of that flavor where it reminded me of those boys, and a little bit also of a very large dog that doesn't know how large it is and is trying to play with you and is being really rough and is like actually kind of scratching you up a bit, but it doesn't know because it's just play. It's just trying to play.
Which is literally what happened to my dog while I was in New York. He got kicked off the island for not knowing his size.
The island.
Yes, I dropped him off on an island. My friend owns an island, a small island in Quebec, in the middle of a lake. And within 3 days, my dog had knocked her over and she twisted her ankle, and she was angry at the dog, and he was kicked off the island for not knowing his size,
right,
and not knowing his effect on other people, which is a thing that I'm working on. It's like, how do I affect other people?
But how do you work on that? I feel like I have a really good handle on that, but I'm not sure how to teach other people to have an awareness of their impacts.
Well, what's interesting about this situation is that I meet lots of people often, and very few people have given me the type of feedback that you've given me.
Well, very few people would be willing to say something like that because it's very uncomfortable to say.
Right. Well, okay, so that was one of the explanations of why that happened. And the other is that, like, I don't think that I rub people the wrong way that often. So I think that, yes, you are able to have difficult conversations.
Sometimes in my better days.
Right, of course. I mean, that's why they're difficult, because we're not so great at doing it because we don't have a lot of practice.
Drag my feet on them, of course, but I usually eventually do them if they really matter.
And I also think that we have a particular dynamic in which we haven't figured out what works.
I'm not sure why, though. Is it because you don't want to drop in with me? Because one of the things I wound up saying to you was, you make it impossible to be sweet to you in a moment of exasperation. You make it impossible to be sweet to you. And you're like, you don't know me. But I feel like I want to love you up. I want to love you up and like cuddle you and squeeze you and be sweet with you. And then you start poking me and I'm like pushing you away.
I think that's because I have a deep down fear of intimacy. I am scared of starting something with somebody that I think isn't going to work out.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And so instead of even starting something where I will have to maybe let you down, I don't let anybody get close to me. And I've been like this for a long time, and I'm working on it in therapy because I ultimately want partnership. And in order for me to have partnership, I need to back up and let people get close to me.
Let's do the credits. Chad Michael Snavely is my editor and a podcast maven. He has a slew of podcasts you can check out on chadmichael.com. Shaun is my illustrator and graphic designer. She specializes in good-looking character illustrations from photographs, like the one you see in my podcast cover art. Hire her through 99 Designs. Alan Markley is a rock star touring musician, and he created my intro music with a little bit of sex vox from me. Those are the breathy sounds. Find him on Instagram as Plastic Cannons. You know, Shaun and I also got vertical together. We recorded episode 28 of The Love Drive, how to get invited to a play party, in Shaun's borrowed apartment in Williamsburg. Despite the title, I make no promises. But if you're curious about what a hacienda sex party is like, well, darling, we made you an episode. At the end of that recording, Shaun asked me if I had a parting thought. And I said, all I can think of is the E.M. Forster quote, "Only connect." I don't think that we will regret any of the time we've spent trying to connect with other humans, is what I said. What I mean is, the time we spend cultivating intimacy in our lives is time worth spending. It is among the worthiest of pursuits. So thank you. Thank you for getting horizontal. To listen to the rest of our conversation as we unpack our own challenges getting intimate with each other, become a patron of the Horizontal Arts on patreon.com/horizontalwithlila. Until next week, I wish you someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to.
We don't have to share this with anybody, but we're just gonna be like, hey. So this is the very first horizontal naked.
It recorded entirely lying down.
Full frontal nudity.
With robes or not.
Well, yeah. Usually, every other episode has been recorded with robes, so this one is special. You're special, Shaun.
I feel special.